Hello everyone, I'm Duncan Permezel and I'm the General Manager of Retail Sales and Marketing at Origin Energy. Origin is an integrated energy company in Australia with 4.5 million customer accounts across electricity, natural gas, LPG and broadband. We retail through our three key segments: consumer, where I'll focus today, but also small to medium enterprises and the commercial and industrial segments. In our consumer customer base, we also provide other services such as solar and storage, where we will design and install solar and storage solutions for our customers. At Origin, our purpose is getting energy right for our customers, community and planet. And our ambition and strategy is to lead the transition to net zero through cleaner energy and customer solutions. One way we'll do this, and a key pillar of our strategy, is by offering unrivaled customer solutions. And part of this is making it simple and easy for customers to access clean and smart energy solutions. Origin partnered with Accenture and Google Cloud to launch the new Solar Growth Platform app. The tool uses 3D data, visual AI, and advanced analytics to show customers how solar panels can help save energy. It can measure things like roof pitch, area, and energy consumption to calculate the most suitable solar product for any household. This innovation is a great example of how we can equip homes with solutions to make a difference. Origin's been a leading retailer and installer of rooftop solar in Australia for over 15 years. In that time, we've helped more than 110,000 Australians go solar, and that is more than any other installer over that time period. However, the industry itself is a very disaggregated and highly competitive industry with relatively low barriers to entry. In today's market, we are the second largest provider with about 3% market share, and the largest provider has about 4% market share based on installed capacity. If you combine that with around 3,000 competitors, it's a very interesting industry to compete in, and for us on a national scale. It's also worth noting that historically the sale was made by physically visiting a site, reviewing the customer's site, and then going away to consider the right system and form up a quote. We would then wait while the customer considered that quote, and subject to the sale being made, the installation would then be scheduled again on another day. It was often the same person or business doing the sale and then coming back to do the install later. But at Origin, as a national retailer, we do most of our work over the phone, probably around 80%, and because that's historically the nature of our relationship with most of our customers. So we have for many years operated over the phone and used satellite imagery to do our designs and try and avoid a pre-sale and pre-install site assessment. In some cases, we would need to do a pre-install site assessment if there was any uncertainty about the premise and the requirements for a successful install. In providing solar and storage options to consumers, it's always worth considering why a customer chooses to invest in solar and why they would come to Origin. You can see in this chart that while there's an environmental benefit of the investment, the main driver is still whether or not the consumer will save money. Due to the nature of the upfront payment and the benefits over time, the decision for consumers is more like a total cost of ownership decision that has payback periods of typically between 3 to 7 years if the system is sized correctly. You'll also see that feed-in tariffs and payment terms are key considerations, but they are just inputs into that total cost of ownership decision. A consumer's decision is based on three key drivers. Firstly, the upfront cost of the system, noting any financial or payment terms. The second is the displacement of grid energy by using the energy from the solar system directly in the home. And the third is the earned revenue from energy exported to the grid by what we call feed-in tariffs. As the example in the attached image shows, a household that consumed, say, 5 megawatt hours per year from the grid, pre-solar, may move to a household that only consumes 3.5 megawatt hours directly from the grid and produces 2 megawatt hours from their solar install, and so offsets 1.5 megawatt hours of usage in the home and exports the other 0.5 megawatt hour to the grid. This example is oversimplified and can be impacted by a couple of other variables. One variable is grid tariffs. Many consumers pay time of use tariffs, which means that the grid price is normally cheapest during the day when the sun is shining and the load on the network and the generation is at its lowest. The price then becomes higher in the late afternoon to evening when there is more demand on the network from households. Another impact is feed-in tariff rates. In a competitive market, these rates vary from retailer to retailer, depending on how that retailer values the energy that is exported or returned to the grid. Another impact is usage profiles. How much usage is at the time generation is occurring from the solar system during sunshine hours. And then there's the differential in rates. Depending on the time of use tariffs, grid rates can sometimes be up around 25 to 30 cents during peak times. They can also be down as low as 6 to 10 cents a kilowatt hour in off-peak times. And your feed-in tariffs sit at around 6 to 10 cents. So all of this means there's much more value for the household in the energy that is used directly in the home. So the new system allows users to provide a simple address to look up and see what their solar opportunity is. It has an intuitive interface that allows customers to see in near real time what the solar setup can look like on the property. The inputs utilised include the home, its orientation, the roof size, the roof pitch, and roof material. It also matches up the technical options around the panel types, sizes, the inverter capacity, and even the battery and storage options if that's a viable investment for the customer. Given our internal information around the customer's usage, we can also orchestrate an outbound campaign that matches the customer's existing tariffs and usage profiles to the insight about the house as described above. This will allow us to show a customer what the best option for them is from a payback perspective. As I mentioned earlier, the old way of selling solar was to invest a lot of time into each system with a large amount of human intervention and gathering of information and data from numerous sources. And sometimes this was onerous on the customer too. With the new system that we developed together with Accenture and Google Cloud, we can digitally capture the required information. We then use the artificial intelligence and machine learning to optimize system and options. This then allows us to an immediate playback to the customer of a quote. The machine learning and AI models used means the customer has a tailored solution and they can be confident that the system hasn't been oversized or undersized for their usage profile. Historically, assessing the suitability of a roof for solar and determining where to place panels has been performed by knowledge workers who piece together many components to arrive at a recommendation. Whilst this is a proven approach, it does take time and it can't really scale to provide a real-time advice to many customers simultaneously. The innovative Origin model uses visual AI and geometry to enable almost unlimited parallel solution assessments within a very easy to understand customer experience. There are 5 key steps in the new process. The first step looks to understand the type of roof being considered. Is it the right material, or is it more ornate tiles which could be problematic for the installation? The second and third steps break down the overall roof area into segments, provide insights on the roof slope and orientation to the sun, and provide the gross available area that potentially could be used for solar. The final steps, 4 and 5, place panels on the roof in line with the recommendations for what a customer in terms of usage and what is possible from a solution perspective. Collectively, these steps are performed in under 30 seconds. To date, we are seeing customers' journey time shortened, while still being able to configure a system and outcome that is personalised for the customer's property and usage profile. The quote is accurate and allows confidence that it is a robust assessment of the data and information to build the recommendation quote. We are getting higher interaction net promoter scores through the new platform than previously, and the customers can choose what time of day they choose to interact with us and consider the purchase options. We're also seeing lower cancellation rates on orders due to the increased confidence in the system design and roof structure information. This lower cancellation rate leads to more efficient operations. The machine learning and the team progressing the platform are constantly working on improving the proposition and building continuous improvement cycles that have us enjoying the opportunity of many ideas and options to keep refining the performance of the platform and the customer experience. I would also note that the platform allows some of our partners to consider white labelling the competency to allow them to introduce their customers to renewable and distributed generation and storage in a way that they can trust the experience, that it's going to be customer experience accretive, and that the customer won't be delayed or held up in any transfers or movements between the organisations. An important philosophy that worked well with this was to try and get an MVP to market as quickly as possible so that we could test and refine the customer's experience with real insight and data. Our MVP focused on limited geographies and house types in the first instance, and then expanded beyond there. We have seen customer preferences change rapidly in this environment, so our ability to adapt the proposition is very important. We knew the outcomes we had in mind, and with that, it was fundamental to bring the partners together and ensure the cross-functional team saw the vision and shared the optimism. This was important because the work crossed many businesses, teams, and skills. After building the MVP, it was just a matter of iterating through until we had most of the geography and building types covered. And now we're circling back on other ideas and opportunities we saw along the way, as well as thinking about how we continue this experience all the way through the sales cycle and included all the way through the installation cycle. Thank you.